You're watching The Friday Show, and I'm very pleased now to be joined by cricket writer, Sky News contributor and former military officer Kate McGregor. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Rita. How are you going?
I'm fantastic. We've got a lot to talk about today, but I want to start off with this bizarre protest from John McEnroe and Martina Navratilova at the Australian Open. We'll have a look at the image here. They're holding up this Yvonne Goolagong sign. They've both now been forced to apologise for this protest against Margaret Court. They want Margaret Court Arena to be renamed. But I wonder how really genuine that apology is. Have a listen to this audio.
Do you regret doing it?
Well, I think it could have been done better and more effectively. But in terms of regret doing it, no. I only, I apologize because, I haven't been one, perhaps that have read the rule book or the as good as I could have. So I was unaware that there were certain protocols that needed to be followed. And I get where Tennis Australian is trying to thread this needle and try to handle this as non-vocally as possible.
Kate, I wonder, did they consult with Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley before they used her name in that stunt? Because I've got to tell you, this is a statement from Goolagong-Cawley back in 2017 about Margaret Court. She said, "Margaret's my hero. Great player, wonderful champion, and true professional in every way." I'm tipping that she wasn't consulted before her name was used in that bizarre protest.
I think that's a pretty fair inference, Rita. And look, I commented on Margaret Court back in 2017 as well. And I made 2 points and I stand by them. What I said, I hope, aged pretty well. Obviously, as a person who was in the frame for her remarks at that time about transgenderism, I said that obviously there was capacity for my feelings to be hurt, but I believed it was a terrible mistake for people to pile onto her for two reasons. One, these were clearly her bona fide religious beliefs, and I think she's entitled to them. And in a free country, we're entitled to have discussions about this, not erase people from history. And the term I used on the drum on the 1st of June 2017, much to the acclaim of the woke Twitterati, I might add, was to say that I thought erasing a great player, a person who at various times has been considered a living national treasure, to erase her from our past and rename that arena smacked of Stalinist airbrushing out of history. Are we to live in an environment where, like the Khmer Rouge, we just have day zero recurring, depending which new fad we're jumping on board? Look, I think, I disagree with her theologically. Obviously, I'm a believing Christian for what it's worth, and we're not going to agree on certain things, but I don't claim to know for sure that I'm not in a state of sin for what I did. I do my best, I pray, I seek discernment. But I respect her right, and I certainly respect her tennis record, which is what this week should have been about. And to have these two blow-ins, and Wally Mason from The Australian made the point pretty well, leaving aside whether people had strong views about her religious convictions or not, they didn't want a couple of American blow-ins turning the Australian Open into a cheap political stunt on an outside court. I think it was reprehensible, frankly. And look, if I pull this little number at Lords over Brexit during the Ashes series, I would have been decredentialed by the English Cricket Board and out of the ground. Why is he back there commenting? He doubled down on Channel 9 yesterday morning. He's on with Carl Stefanovic and Alison Langdon yesterday morning, redoubling these comments and saying that he'd been raised a Catholic and this is out of order. Two things. He's probably one of the worst ambassadors for the spirit of tennis that there could ever have been. And the woman he's denigrating, whatever you make of her views, won with grace and aplomb and sportsmanship of a high order. She was absolutely beyond reproach as a competitor, and even those who disapprove of her, like Billie Jean King and others, admired the way she conducted herself as a player. And I come back to close on this point that as a Conservative, it always worries me when I see people wanting to trash the past, whether it's a statue of Arthur Phillip, the statue of Wilfred Rhodes, or Confederate generals in the south of America. Are we not, in free societies, capable of drawing lessons from our history, having civil arguments about them, but leaving our history intact. A nation that forgets its history has no future, said Winston Churchill, and this woman stands above every other female tennis player in the history of the game. And one final wisecrack for Mr McEnroe, maybe spend a bit more time praying and a little less time protesting, because on present indications, Serena Williams needs a miracle to overtake Margaret Court.
Well, that's what they're all cheering for. They're all hoping that Margaret's record can be eclipsed by Serena. Now, let's go to another sports star who the left have tried to cancel, Israel Folau. He this week signed a one-year contract to play rugby league in Europe, joining the Catalan Dragons in the south of France. Now that he's returned to elite rugby league ranks, should he be considered, if he's good enough, for selection to the national side?
Well, I believe he should. And again, I've been on the wrong side of the rainbow debate on this one. Again, it is people running around saying that what he has said is hurtful. Okay, perhaps it is. Again, I think our Creator decides who goes to heaven and hell. But a couple of very important philosophical points. If you're not going to ban the book from which he quotes, then why ban the player? And I have a real acute discomfort when people start to talk about banning books. The sequence in totalitarian states tends to be you ban books before you burn books. And in a week when we're looking back with lamentations over Auschwitz, in societies where books are banned and burned, people are burned. And I just think what has been done to this kid, and more what was done to his wife, was reprehensible. All she did was send one retweet, and the virtuosos all piled onto her. She retweeted the fundraising thing.
She's Maria Folau, I think, was netball. Yeah, you're right. She's one of the best netball players in the country, and she decided not to follow on after that criticism. Now, I'm going to quickly go back to the Australian Open, because Australian hearts were broken last night when Ash Barty lost in straight sets. Now, she is still world number one, but the decision to bring a baby into the press conference, her little baby niece, I thought it was adorable, but it has been criticised by some tennis commentators, including the BBC's David Law, who said that press conferences are no place for a baby. Tennis analyst Matt Roberts said Barty was trying to use the baby to deflect attention, and one broadcaster even said the baby was being used as a human shield. Kate, what do you think? I mean, do they want her to be in tears after a bad loss? Do we want her to show she's hurting? Or isn't it a good thing that she's got some sense of perspective?
Yeah. I think she's conducted herself impeccably throughout this whole process. She lost with grace again, as we've just discussed, unlike McEnroe at his prime. It's her call. It's her child. She was clearly, I can't relate to the points. I'm sorry. I can't get excited or denounce her for having. Well, I think they're saying she wasn't hurting enough. She brought the baby in, and she seemed to have a sense of perspective that. There's more important things to life, and her baby niece is one of the more important things. Yeah, and I would have thought that was a refreshing thing. Absolutely. That's what you want every kid. And I coach kids in sport, and I always tell them, who you become playing the game is all that you're going to have left when the record books close on you. Whether you play Test cricket or fifth grade, the person you become is what the game leaves you with. And she's a commendable young woman. Not hurting enough. That's like saying sledging and abusing opponents shows how much you want it. Is this the calculus they want to apply to her? I just don't agree with them at all on it. And good luck to her. I actually thought this was hers for the taking. I thought the draw had opened up. Dare I say it, in the current climate about religious debates, I thought there was a miraculous parting of the Red Sea almost for Ash when Osaka and Serena Williams had gone out of the draw. I thought this is her year. And she made the point very well. She said, look, there are bigger things in life than tennis. I've lost this one. I'll take some lessons from it and I'll try to apply them next time. Now, that's what you want a good loser to say.
That's it. And who knows? She might go home and stew on it for for a week, but it doesn't mean she needs to go to a press conference and be unpleasant or be next to tears to show how much she cares. Now, thank you so much for joining us, Kate McGregor.